Good morning, everyone. Apparently, we're live. Been running a tad lately, but see what I can do about that. Okay, so quick recap of yesterday. Yesterday, once again, we stayed in the chop zone. Uh, we kind of undercut 50. Oh, no, I don't think we undercut 50. I think we just kind of nuzzled it and then went back up and stayed within zone. Where's yesterday? Hold on. Here it is. No, we didn't undercut 50. We went to 51. What happened at 1 o'clock yesterday? I don't really care what happened. Some numbers came out, the bond auction and some, I don't know, personal spending, wherever it is. I don't really care so much about the numbers. That's for the macro bros, and that's for the weekend analysis where I take out my crystal ball and predict the future 5 years from now and discount the cash flow PE ratios. I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic. Um, and we kind of went right down here, bounced where we're supposed to, quote unquote, and came back within range. And I just want to point out what I pointed out in my note. Although this week seemed like there was a lot of intraday movement, and there was basically we've been in a 75 point range all week. To the downside, we opened up near 64.50-ish. I forget where it was exactly on Monday. Tuesday was the down day. Monday was not great. Tuesday was a down day. We broke 6,400, and we've been fighting with it ever since. And this is to be expected. We had monthly options expiration, so there's less gamma exposure, gamma being related to time to expiration and how close spot is to that expiration. And the next big expiration is September quarterly. And so there's less gamma to hedge broadly, locally there is, and that's what we've been seeing, the hedging of the local gamma. I also want to point out before we get to like what's going on right now. Good morning, Jason. I want to point out a few things that I think are relevant in a little bit broader context. One, okay, here was the expected move. This is my little expected move thing, Friday to Friday. I got this from Theo Trade. This was like a free indicator on their website. I got it a million years ago. Well, probably 10 years ago. I don't remember 8 years ago maybe. And it's just nice. Throw it on the chart. It pops up on Fridays, and I tend to sell iron condors. You know, 25 points or below or above or something like that. I get about 80 cents a buck a piece, and then hey Boomer, get about 80 cents each side or something like that, and I kind of manage each side separately. That's me, and they're always a moneymaker. So anyway, the point is, here was the bottom of the expected move, and right now we're inside it. Also notice how this area here, 70-ish, we'll call it, 65, 70, was the bottom of the expected move. And I don't know if we closed below the expected move this week. If we did, real close. And so we've been respecting this expected move, even though last Friday's expected move was relatively muted. A, because we were going into options expiration and IV was low. We had expiration on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, last trading day. So despite all that, an IV popped from sub 15 to over 17, all that, and yet we still looks like we're staying within the expected move. Looks like, I'm not sure today. Obviously the 6350 is the first number we keep our eye on, where we've kind of bounced. We undercut it once this week, 6341. That was on the Fed minutes day drop, and then we we shot back above it. I think that day we closed around 65, is kind of at the expected move. Okay, YouTube and Twitter, let's move on. Okay, so let me go back to my chart here. So what do we have going on today? We have the IC whale up here, and we have the IC whale, where is he? Down here. Wait, let me get another whale. We have him down here at 15, I think. I don't know. Or 10. I forget exactly where. We have him down here somewhere. It's in my notes. And so, where is he? There he is. So he's got his call credit spreads up at 30.35, and his put credit spreads, I think they're at 10.05. And so those are the critical levels in one way of looking at it. And let's look at the market maker positioning and see what kind of reactions we expect. Oh, before we do that, I want to show you the VIX thing. So yesterday, where the heck is VIX 9-day? There's the VIX. And there's VVIX. Oh, wait. This should be VIX 9-day. There it is, VIX 9-day. Okay. So yesterday, I'm not sure where it is today. Yesterday, during the height of the selling, the VIX 9-day popped above the VIX. The high of the day on the 9-day was higher than the VIX, obviously indicating short-term fear, long-term still fear. 17. I mean, actually, that's not crazy VIX. 20 is kind of where we're considered high or normal high, but still elevated, and it's always relative. VIX is mean reverting, so it's relative. VVIX similarly popped 105, and now it's 99. So we have some good markers for inflection points. We have VIX 16, 16 and a half, 17. We have VIX 9-day over under VIX, and we want the 9-day to kind of come back in. And right now, even if it's lower, the contango is not normal-ish. We'd like to see a bigger distance between the two. So yeah, there's that. And there's VVIX over under 100. Let's take a look at my new favorite toy, the VIX VVIX ratio that I've been showing you guys. Here's S&P on the bottom, and it's at 6-ish, which is coming into the normal range, normal amount, not too fearful, not too complacent. So that's kind of interesting. The problem I say is 50, right? The straddle price is 50, right? Unless the straddle doesn't materialize once the Jay Powell fear comes out of the market. Wouldn't it be something if we end up like bouncing around and closing at 6,400? Like right in the middle. Okay, nothing to see here, folks. Which somehow wouldn't shock me. I don't know. Somehow there's certain poetic justice in that. There's also, but yeah, and clearly, as you point out, where is it? Is this it? No, I have so many of these open. Here it is. Um, Based on the fact that we're at 63.90, add 50, and we're right in his throat. He sold the calls a little close. He sold the calls a little close, if you ask me. But he just takes the expected move ish, gets a little more than the expected move, sells like sometimes a 22 delta. I think he tends to sell his calls a little close. I'm not sure if he's looking for equal credit on both sides and you get more on the puts, or if there's a strategy to it. He tries to get around $2. If I'm doing something like this, I like to get a third the width of the spread, not 40%, or I'll even take 30% of the width and be five more further away. I'll take 1/3, even like 135, 1 1/4, and be a little further away. I didn't do that given the event that's coming in, but just when I do these kind of trades, I have my own version of the IC whales. I have to come up with a good alliteration for the Doc something or the McGraw something. We can make that a poll, or make that. Throw your comments in what we should call my version of this when these come up. Anyway, so that said, let's move on. Where am I? Okay, so let's move on to options depth. I want to look at a few things here. Okay, so here's where we are. I'm pretty sure I have the right day on. Yeah, I had the wrong day out once in a while. And let me put you on this stage, Bad Hombre, when you want to speak, go right ahead.
All right, still
Go.
charting, but I'll be right in.
Okay, sure. See, folks, listen, he's still charting. I wrote my daily plan and made up my chart. I hope you folks at home, quote unquote, are doing your charting or writing your daily plan or have something concrete that you've done. I know that that's helped me immeasurably. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, so here's the IC whale on top, 63.40, 64.30. On bottom, 63.10. Gun to my head, I say the 63.10 holds. That's outside the expected move, so just playing the odds, and we'll look at it a little more closely. So here's the situation, and it's kind of interesting. Okay, so we have 70 where we closed and 90, not very big, but we have market maker long. What happens in market maker long as a review? If it's above us, they sell on the way up, but then buy on the way down, mean reverting in both directions. Same thing on the bottom. On the bottom, they buy as we go down and sell as we go up. And we happen to have a little bit of a void in the middle. So I like to think of this as a butterfly, 70, 70, 70, 80, 90. And so this becomes the initial area where we expect to see something. Over 90, we have a series of market maker longs. So here they're competing with you for price. They're buying in the direction of the move. So they're adding accelerant. If over 90, 6,400 round number, you can expect people to be buying calls or puts, depending what's going on as we get up here, if we do. And kind of an acceleration up into this 10, 15, maybe 20 area. By the time we get here, this stuff is pushing us down. And we have some more shorts at 40 and at 50, where I would have been much more comfortable selling calls. than selling them right here. But be that as it may, similar setup on the downside. I see gold. I like that, except I want my name in there somehow. McGraw something, Doc, Goat something. You know what? If worse comes to worse, I ask ChatGPT, but I'd like to get it from people out there. So I'd like to have something that a word that begins with an M or a D. Doc,
What are you trying to name?
huh?
What are you trying to name?
I'm trying. I'm trying to name my own version of the icy whale iron condors. That's something I'm going to be rolling out. I've been playing it and testing it.
All right, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, okay, so this is a contest, folks. The winner gets bragging rights. Um, and maybe I'll even come up with something to throw in as a incentive because us humans like incentives. Okay, to the downside, maybe a free month subscription if you're not a subscriber. No, I don't want minnow. I want something bigger than the whale, not less. But anyway, let me get back to what's going on here. Now, if we break to the downside, which also wouldn't be shocking, it wouldn't shock me if we kind of went down here and up here, and like I was saying before, only half jokingly, end up at 6,400, give or take, call it a day or call it a week. Um, Once we get below 60.55, you see we we flip, so to speak. Now the skew is going in this direction, and so market makers are going to be chasing this way. And so if we break 60.55, we have a void here. Anything can happen in these voids. We tend to rest in these path of least resistance, so to speak. And you'll probably see a yellow line there. We don't even have the yellow line there. We have a path of least resistance down here at 37. I guess the math puts the path of least resistance right over here in between these two. So we have a kind of a void drift down here. At that point, we, have some buying from this, more buying from this. Here it looks like it's a 10 wide put credit spread, 25.15. So we have this area where we should get some buying flows. This area might be a stopper. This area 90 might be a stopper. So 60 to 70 might be a stopper or a stall inflection before we continue one way or the other, either stall reverse or continue, which is how I kind of write my note, or 90 stall reverse inflection or continue, 63.90, and that's kind of what's going on. Another thing that I've been mentioning a lot to my subscribers, and we're not going to go into the math, when IV increases, market maker positive gamma strikes lose their strength. They're easier to run through. An analogy that I like is if you think of a lump of butter, for whatever reason, if this is a lump of butter, when IV gets hot, this melts, and instead of being a line here, it just becomes a thin line over here. It becomes way more zonal and less distinct, for lack of a better word, less sharp. And so, especially on the downside. So just something to keep an eye on. McGraw's Iron Billy. Getting closer, getting closer. I think I have to ask the goats what they think. Um, Okay, where are we? Where are we? So we're here. Another thing. So I didn't put this in my note because it's too long. I put it in there in the general chat for my subscribers. Basically, a couple things about the Jackson Hole today. And your crystal ball is as good as mine. Big disclaimer. The top, the heading, the title of the symposium or whatever it is something about jobs market, employment, and productivity, the road ahead, blah, 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 that kind of BS. And so the focus is on jobs and labor, not inflation. Now, of course, it's on inflation, but note what the focus is and note what happened August, non-farm payrolls suck, technical term, and that gave the market, 95% chance of, rate cuts, 25 or 50 in September. Then we got inflation data. We got data last week on Tuesday that inflation was tamed. Then we got PPI on Thursday. No, producer prices are up, and then we got more stuff. And so now that narrative is in question. I don't know how that's going to be parsed in Powell's statement, obviously. But since the topic is jobs and labor, if the tilt is more towards jobs and the weakness in the jobs market, even if the discussion is somewhat balanced jobs and inflation, those that are expecting him to bang on inflation, the hawks might be a little disappointed. So I think that there's a chance of a surprise to the upside. Now, I'm an eternal optimist, and I know that. So just because I think it doesn't mean it's true. I wear my thoughts like a garment loosely. I think it. Okay, maybe I'm right. So that's a little asterisk. That's all it is. It's an if then. It's conditional. Also, and looking up the way this works. So he does his little spiel for 10 minutes. He'll probably go longer. I don't know. I'm just guessing. At 10 o'clock, the text comes out when he starts. So the algos get to do their thing with the text and buy, sell, whatever they're going to do. And then there'll be some initial judgments. Some might happen instantly. Some will happen instantly. Some a little later on. Possibly some after the speech. Vol will reprice and we'll see which way it goes. Does VIX or VIX 9-day or whatever you want to look at, fixed strike vol, I, whatever you like to look at for volatility, will reprice, or you can look at multiple things. You can look at a dashboard like I have, my little volatility dashboard that I like to look at. I like to look at this and this. Got skewed SDEX and TDEX, nations indexes, 90, 9-day, 5-day. And I also have like some other volatility stuff that I might throw on. So look at whatever you want, that's up to you. So where was I? Let's go back to options depth. Okay. So then they break out into breakout sessions. And of course, the talking heads come on, and Gunlock probably, and Shem Carson will be on multiple live feeds probably, and Rick Santelli, all the CNBCs will be talking, and they'll tell us what we thought we heard. And then we'll see what the reaction is. Now, from what I understand, there's no direct Q&A. And in the breakout sessions, they don't really address his speech, I think. Also, this is likely, his swan song. I think we know he ain't going to be back at another Jackson Hole as the key head speaker, as the keynote speaker. And so, How much is he going to cement his legacy and talk about all the wonderful things he's done, the challenges, and thank everybody, thank the Academy for nominating him for this award and all that kind of stuff? Does he want his legacy to be tank the market of Jackson Hole again? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Um, it'd certainly be a nice, if he was a vengeful person and assuming that him and Trump, there's no love lost. And also, speaking of Trump, I like that. McGraw Megalodon Condor. That's getting close. That's getting close. That's getting close. Um, and so I don't know. These are just things that are going on in the back of my mind. And we'll kind of see how he parses. Oh, also, this is what I wanted to say. At noon, of course, not to be, once at 10 o'clock, the White House is going to upstage Jackson Hole. At noon, they're making an announcement. What's the announcement? I don't know. It could be a distractor, Russia-Ukraine deal they're going to meet, Zelensky is going to meet, shifting the narrative. It could be something to do with the next Fed appointment. I'm going to nominate for the chairman of the next Fed, of the next Fed, so and so, to again blunt what Powell says, just in case. It could be his usual Powell's an idiot and I should fire Powell. Or it could be something that, I don't know, I'm just saying. Now, were I in charge of strategy at the White House, I would have 3 or 4 different announcements at noon, depending on what Powell says. Depending if I want to shift the narrative to Russia, Ukraine, do I want to shift the narrative to who my new Fed chair is going to be? I would have 2 or 3 announcements in my pocket and be ready to improvise. And Trump doesn't mind improvising anyway, so it fits with his. He doesn't need cue cards. Some other presidents, I'm not going to name any names, need cue cards and a teleprompter and still kind of mess up sometime. He doesn't need a cue card. So anyway, there's that. And that's kind of it. Okay. Even after this clears out, next week we have PCE, I think the 29th, whatever day it is. And I've noticed some big bearish hedge trades going in for the 29th, the end of the month. We have NVIDIA next week. NVIDIA earnings, that might be important. I don't know. It's you guys might have heard of it. They make semiconductors. And to whatever extent that's packed into the dispersion trade with people selling index vol and buying NVIDIA vol. There's put skew from what I saw. We can talk about NVIDIA strategies maybe in my weekend note or whatever. I don't want to get distracted. On the road ahead, though, September is seasonally weak. We have CTAs and vol control funds, all those people basically pretty much max exposure. So the liquidity help that we've been getting is kind of drying up. Corporate buybacks, they say, I don't know, Goldman Sachs, whoever the gurus are, say are set to dry up in early September. We have something on, we have non-farm payrolls beginning of September, so of course he can kick the can down the road for that. And then we have some kind of number on the 11th, one of the CPI, PPI, GDPs, one of those numbers on the 11th, and there's hedges going in for there. Then we come into the orbit of September OPEX, where we probably firm up wherever we are. And then we go past September OPEX, and then 6505 is the JP Morgan collar at the end of September, and we end up there, give or take a few points. I don't know what the path is, but we're probably going to end up near there. via 6,000 or via 6,700. Now, if we get significantly above it, then we could kind of keep going. But I don't think that's happening as of yet. Uh, Iron McGraw. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to shut up now. And you want to say something, Bad Hombre? Share a chart, say something.
I mean, from a technical analysis standpoint,
Go ahead.
we're kind of still stuck where we were yesterday. Not a ton of changes. Looking at the ES chart, I would be looking for shorts around that 625 area or 6425. I'm sorry. Um, I'll be looking for a little top there, see if I can bring it down. But other than that, I'm playing it based on what I see. Not a real game plan today.
Okay, where's my? I got ES on this list somewhere. Where the heck is it? Let me just type in the symbol. Here it is. Say those numbers
So
again. Now that I got a
so I
chart up. Let me make it
once
a.
we push up to 65.25 to even like 64.25 to 64.30, I like shorts up there, given that if there's a top forming. And then if we
So
break
that would
below,
be roughly 6,400 ish for SP folks. Go ahead.
and if we break below 63.63, then I'm gonna try and look for longs down there.
Okay, that would be around the 6340 ish, where we had the failed breakdown bounce. Okay.
Yep. If we do have that breakdown, and I'm not going to get in front of it. I'll wait for it to start bottoming. But if it comes down like that, then I will be looking for longs into next week.
And just so the people playing at home know, and we see this really often, that the TA levels that Bad Hombre sees and the SPX gamma levels often line up. It's no
Yep.
big mystery. People see shit. Pardon my French. People see shit. People aren't stupid, and the levels end up being in certain places. And whether we bounce there because of the gamma that's there, and so people see it and traders say it, or we bounce there because of the TA, and so trades go in around there. It doesn't matter. Chicken and egg. Who crossed the road first?
Right.
We know we have reaction zones. We know market makers are going to have to hedge when we get to these large liquidity zones. We know from whatever you futures people look in depth of book or whatever, that there's buyers and sellers and icebergs and all that fancy stuff there. And so potato, potato. And we're working on finalizing some kind of future scalping trading room along with whatever else we're doing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, if there's any more questions, comments, if not, that's Chewy, by the way. But he is a bad hombre, so that's basically it. I'm gonna go look at
Are you
listen
going to be in
to
a trade
okay.
before the event?
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
I was
Um
going to say.
oh, Magnificent McGraw Con. Oh, that one's getting good too. That one's getting good too. Magnificent though sounds a little grandiose. Sounds a little grandiose, but
Little grandiose.
just saying. I kind of
What about Iron Grazer?
I want alliteration. I want Doc
Ah,
something with a D or McGraw something with an M somewhere in there. So Magnificent
got it.
fits that bill, but modest McGraw Condor, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna have to see. My more creative friends will come up with something.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Yep. Take care, everyone. And I'm probably gonna try and play pinball today. So watch your Twitter feeds and your chat streams, whatever. I'm probably gonna play pinball. We've been playing it just locally, within within the service. But I might do it today. It just depends on like what I got going on. Okay, guys, take care. Good luck. And yeah, I'm not on these kind of days. I'm not gonna front run this shit. What am I crazy? You know, I'm not gonna front run this. I tend to be a front runner, but with it, with a smattering of caution. Okay, take care.